Hello, we are working on ratio notes today. So a ratio is a comparison of two quantities. So we are comparing two different things. And again, quantities just means things. We are going to compare two different things in our word problems. So a ratio is a comparison of two quantities. Our keyword there is ratio. So in a word problem, if we see this word, this is what we're going to do. Okay, and there are different ways to write ratios. So we have an example down here that we can look at to use for our reference. So it says for every one cat, there are 3 dogs. So when there's one cat, there's 3 dogs. When there's 2 cats, there's another 3 dogs. It keeps happening over and over again. So the ways that we can write ratios is we take that 1 and 3 and we put a colon in between them. So a colon is the 2 dots. And then I can also label it 1 is cats, 3 is dogs. So C is cat, D is dog. So a colon is one way you're going to see a ratio. This is the most common, so let's put a star down here. That's how you're typically going to see a ratio. You could also see it with the word 2 in the middle. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1 cat to 3 dogs. Okay, you could also see it with the word per. So you could see 1 cat per 3 dogs. Okay, that's another way they could write it. Or you could write it like a fraction, so 1 over 3. That is the 4th way you could see it. But again, this with the colon is typically how you are going to see a ratio. All right, let's go to the inside and let's practice. So example 1, a bag has 3 purple marbles, 4 green marbles, and 5 blue marbles. So we want to write the ratios down here for these different situations. So before we do that, let's go down here. We have to remember order matters. So if it says blue to green, we have to go blue to green. Order matters. We are also going to label. So like I did up here with cats and dogs, we need to label. And then we are going to find the total when it asks us to. And to find the total, we have to add the pieces. All right. So now that we have those things, let's go up here. So in my first ratio right here, it says purple to green. So in my problem, I have 3 purple and 4 green. So above purple, I'm going to write 3. And above green, I'm going to write 4. So that is the order I have to stay in. So my ratio would be 3 colon 4. Okay? And obviously, again, we're going to label it. So purple, P, and G for green. Okay? The next ratio we could do is green to blue. So this time, let's do green to blue. So I have 4 green and 5 blue. So 4 green, 5 blue. So my ratio would be 4 colon 5. And G for green, B for blue, because we're going to label. Okay, and then the last one, I have blue. And then this one's asking for the total. So I have 5 blue, but this time I don't know my total yet. I have to find the total. So 3 plus 4 plus 5. All the marbles, that would be 7 plus 5 is 12. So my total would be 12. So my ratio would be 5 to the total, which is 12. Okay, so again, order matters. It has to stay in the order that it says in the problem. So now we can go down here. Oops, sorry, I forgot to label. We have blue and total. All right, so now let's go down to example 2. Samuel can do 85 sit-ups in 5 minutes. John can do 57 sit-ups in 3 minutes. Which statement is true? So we want to know which one is correct. So this doesn't have the word ratio in it, but in my answer choices, down here, we have ratios. Okay, so that's a good hint. And in my answer choices, it is either saying that Samuel can do more or John can do more. So essentially, we need to figure out who can do more sit-ups. And right now, they did it in different amounts of time. So we have discussed we cannot compare things if they are in different amounts of time because that's not fair. So I am going to write my ratio for Samuel and my ratio for John. So Samuel has a ratio of 85 to 5. So 85 to 5. So I got that directly from right here. And it says 85 sit-ups in 5 minutes. So my labels would be sit-ups and minutes. Okay, now let's write our ratio for John. So John would be 57 to 3. And again, I got that from right up here. And it says 57 sit-ups and minutes. So it's in the same order. So sit-ups and minutes. So now for us to compare, we have to have the same amount of time. Because in A, it says Samuel can do more sit-ups because 85 is greater than 57. So again, that doesn't matter because they were different times. So we can't say that. And again, I can't say that in B either. We cannot compare just 85 and 57 because those both had different times. They had different amount of times, so that's not fair. Okay? So now, we want the same amount of time for both people. So I need to get this 5 and this 3 to be the same number. So what I mean by that is if I'm counting by 5s and if I'm counting by 3s, what's the same number I can get to? So 5, 10, 15, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So if I took this ratio to a 15 on this side and a 15 on this side, I could then compare the other side because then both people would have 15 minutes. And that's fair because they get the same amount of time. So now I need to find my rule. How do I get from 3 to 15? How do I get from 5 to 15? So what times 3 gives me 15? Times 5. So how do I get from 5 to 15? What 5 times 3 gives me 15. So that means if I'm multiplying by 5 on this side, I also have to multiply by 5 on this side. So I need to do 57 times 5, and that's going to give me my missing piece. But over here on this one, I did times 3, so I need to do 85 times 3, and that's going to give me my 2 pieces. So I'm going to solve that. 57 times 5. I cannot do that in my head. So 35, 25 plus 3 is 28. So he can do 285 sit-ups in 15 minutes. So now let's solve for Samuel. 85 times 3 would be 15. That would be 8 times 3 is 24. Times 1 would be 25. So he does 255. So now that they both had the same amount of time, who can do more sit-ups? 255 or 285? So John wins, so C would be my answer. All right, let's go to example 3. There are 63 dogs at a dog show, so that's my total. Already I know I have 63 dogs total. Okay, the ratio, good keyword there, of large dogs to small dogs is 4:3. How many dogs at the show are small dogs? So I have a ratio, 4:3. Okay, let's write that up here, 4:3. But I need to know my labels. So we're gonna go back to the sentence that says ratio, and I need to know what is it explaining? What are my words gonna be, and which one comes first and which one comes last? So we want dogs, but what types of dogs? We have large to small. So what's my first word gonna be? Large to small. Large to small. So order matters. So 4 large dogs, 3 small. How many dogs at the dog show are small? So if I look at my ratio up here, I have 3 small dogs, but that's not an answer choice. That's because my total is 63. But if I found the total of this over here, 4 and 3, so if I have 4 large and 3 dogs, my total would be 7. So that's not the total we have right now, so we need to skip count. So right now I have 4 large, 3 small, and my total is 7. I need to have a total of 63. So we are going to skip count our 7s until we get to 63 because that is my total and I need a total of 63. So let's count by 7. So 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63. Okay, so when we get to 63, we are good to go. But again, that's the total. We want to know how many are small. So now we have to go and skip count the small until we get to the same skip count there. So this time we're skip counting the small. I don't even really technically care about the large dogs right now. So this time I'm counting by 3s. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. And the reason I'm doing those arrows is to make sure they match. 21, 24, 27. So when my total is 63, how many small dogs are there? 27, which is indeed my answer. Okay? You also could have realized, how do I get from 7 to 63? That's times 9. So that means we would have to do 3 times 9, which also equals 27. So you can either skip count or you can find your rule like we did on the last one over here. All right, last question. At a store, the ratio of number of limes sold to the number of lemons sold is 2:3. Complete the table to show the relationship between the number of limes and the number of lemons. So we have answer choices here, and we need to know what goes in this circle and what goes in this. So our keyword here again is ratio, and they gave us one, but we need to know what are the words, and we need to pay attention to the order. So it says limes to lemons. So if my ratio is 2:3, what word came first? Limes, and I'm gonna put L-I, because they both have an L, and then LE for lemons. So we could also think about this, that this is my limes, this is my lemons, okay? So again, we could skip count until we get to that 24 and then find the other side. So let's try that first. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. And that's what I want here. So now I'm gonna skip count by threes and get my missing piece here. So let's do that. This time I'm counting by threes. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36. So the missing side would be 36, which is an answer choice. So if I'm looking, I need to see what this piece is next. So if my answers are getting bigger, is 16 gonna be an option? Definitely not, okay? And then over here on this side, I am also getting bigger, but if I look this way, my numbers are smaller. So my answer has to be smaller than 108. So 162 is also not an option, okay? So this time, instead of skip counting, because I would have to skip count all the way to 108, and that's gonna take us a lot of time. So this time I'm gonna find my rule. So follow along with me here. I have 2 and 3. So how do I get to here? I don't know, because that's a box. So I need to know, how do I get from 3 to 108? What am I multiplying by? So you could kind of guess and check, how do I get from 3 to 108? Okay, so you could do 3 times random numbers. Or what's the opposite of multiplying? Dividing. So we're gonna take that 108 and divide it by 3. So 108 divided by 3. 3 cannot go into 1. It goes into 10 3 times, which gives me a 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. And that gives me a 6, which is perfect. So that means 36 is my rule. So I am multiplying by 36. Okay, and we could even check 36 times 3, that should give me 108, and in fact it does. So how do I get from 2 to my missing piece? I also need to multiply by 36, and 36 times 2 is 12, and then 7. So my other answer would be 72. Okay, so just remember, ratios, order matters, we're gonna label, and sometimes you need to find your total, which means adding.